What's going on, baseball fans? How you doing? So if the Red Sox don't sign Rafael Devers to an extension, they have to do what they did with Mookie Betts and trade him. So in this video, I've come up with a few trade proposals. Let's go talk about it. To come up with these trade proposals, I use the best baseball trade simulator out there, baseballtradevalues.com. Before I get to the trade proposals, let's go over the latest news with Rafael Devers. According to June Lee of ESPN, the Red Sox and Rafael Devers are galaxies apart in contract negotiations. Devers and his camp currently expect that he will become a free agent after the season. Now, as a Red Sox fan, I absolutely think we should sign Rafael Devers to a contract extension. He continues to be one of the best hitters in the game. Taking a look at his numbers last year, a 4.9 Fangraph WAR over 141 games, hit .295 with a 358 on base, a 521 slugging, 27 homers, a 141 WRC plus. Going back to 2019, he has been averaging right around $35.5 million worth of value. So I think a 10-year contract anywhere from $300 to $320 million is appropriate. But the Red Sox reports have suggested that they view him more as a first baseman down the road. So they don't want to be paying him the bucks that, Anthony Rendon and Nolan Arenado have been getting. So it's really interesting with Rafael Devers on the Red Sox. So I'm not surprised to see a report like this. But if the Red Sox are not going to sign him to an extension, I think they have to trade him just like they did with Mookie Betts. So let's go to the trade proposals. In my first trade proposal, I have Rafael Devers going to the Miami Marlins. Now, the Marlins are an interesting one because they have the prospects. They've been looking for bats this offseason, but I don't know if they have the payroll flexibility to be able to sign Rafael Devers long-term, and I think that is going to be a big key. Whoever trades for Rafael Devers, I'm imagining they're going to want to sign him to an extension long-term. Will the Marlins have the money? Will they fork up the money for Rafael Devers? I don't know. Probably not likely, but they do have the prospects and they do want to bat. So let's go over this proposal here. For the Red Sox, I think whatever package they end up getting for Rafael Devers, I think it needs to be a combination of major league talent with some prospects, similar to the Mookie Betts trade. They got Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, and Connor Wong. Alex Verdugo was obviously major league ready. Downs and Wong were the prospects. So in this deal, I have Miguel Rojas as the major league ready guy. The Red Sox have contacted the Marlins about Miguel Rojas this offseason. They could use a shortstop, depending on what they want to do with Trevor Story. Keep him at second. You could put Rojas at short. And then for the prospects here, I got Max Meyer leading the way in terms of prospects. Now, a little smaller in stature when it comes to a pitcher, 6 feet tall, but Max Meyer has fantastic stuff, throws the ball extremely hard, has a good slider as well. This would be a fun pitching prospect to add for the Red Sox in their system. They would also be getting here Jake Eater, a lefty with pretty good velocity and pretty good stuff, had a good season last year in the minors. And then I also have Ian Lewis in this package as well. When it comes to a guy like Ian Lewis, he's still an A-ball, but a very toolsy guy, a lot of speed, has good bat control as well. I could see the Red Sox, Chaim Bloom, the scouting department, really liking a guy like Ian Lewis. They tend to like to add these middle infield prospects, but he's very athletic. He can maybe down the line play some outfield at some point. I think this would be a really nice package for the Red Sox. It is approved by Baseball Trade Values, but again, will the Marlins want to trade for a guy like Devers, especially if whether or not they're going to have the payroll flexibility to sign him long term? I don't know. The Marlins, I think, out of all these teams that I'm going to suggest, are the least likely, but you never know. In my next proposal, I have Rafael Devers going to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks got to do something to keep pace with the Dodgers, Padres, and the Giants, and a guy like Rafael Devers would be huge for that lineup. They did just try going for Xander Bogaerts in free agency. In the end, goes to the Padres. The Diamondbacks got to do something to answer. Now, a very similar situation with the Marlins. They got a really good farm to be able to get a deal like this done, but will they want to fork up the money for Rafael Devers? They've given out big contracts in the past, especially recently with a guy like Madison Bumgarner, but would they be willing to go, a long-term deal, like a 10-year, $300 million deal for Devers? I'm not quite sure. I think it's more likely they would do it than the Marlins, but let's go over this trade here. For the Red Sox, the major league player that I have going to them would be Josh Rojas. This is a pretty solid player. You're not going to get a lot of power with him, but you're going to get a pretty solid game from him overall. Last year hit 269, a good 349 on base, but a 391 slugging, a 108 WRC plus. But with Rojas, he has positional versatility. He can move around. The Red Sox tend to like players like that. I think Josh Rojas would be a pretty nice bat. Obviously, he wouldn't be replacing Rafael Devers, but he'd be a decent bat. He'd be a good player for the Red Sox on this team, and he's not a free agent until 2027. Now, the big parts of this trade would be from the farm. You got Brandon Pfaadt leading the way, as well as a Slade Ciccone. Now, with a Brandon Pfaadt, this guy has been trending upwards in the Diamondbacks system. He had a really good season last year down in the minor leagues. He has really good stuff. If you take a look, he sits anywhere from 91 to 95, tops out in the high 90s at around 97. He's got a rising fastball. He's got a good slider, good curveball. He's got a good pitch repertoire overall. Now, with a Slade Ciccone, this is a guy who also has pretty good velocity, sits anywhere from 92 to 96, tops out 97, but he has a really good slider. Overall, I would like Slade Ciccone. I think he has good stuff. I think the Red Sox would love to add a guy like this to their system. Overall, I think this could be a pretty decent package. Could you switch out, Rojas with maybe a couple other guys, or maybe switch out Brandon Pfaadt with a couple of other guys? I don't know, but overall, I think the Diamondbacks could get a trade done. Will they do it? I would probably say not very likely, but I don't think you could count a team out like this. Up next, how about the Philadelphia Phillies? They just added Trey Turner this offseason, and could you imagine if they added Rafael Devers? You would have Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper eventually when he comes back, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, and Rafael Devers. Are you kidding me? And Rhys Hoskins as well. This lineup would be absolutely amazing with Rafael Devers in it. Now, in this proposal, I do have Alec Boehm going back to the Red Sox. If you remember going back to the beginning of last season, Alec Boehm was caught on camera saying he was not a fan of playing in Philadelphia. Now, he, ended up apologizing for that, said he didn't really, mean it. He was just frustrated, whatever. But Alec Boehm, you'd have to imagine this would be the player going back to the Red Sox in a deal. And in the end, I actually think it could be good for the Red Sox. He's a right-handed bat, has some raw power. That would be great for the Green Monster there. I think he would be a nice replacement for the Red Sox and for the Phillies. You got Dave Dombrowski. They're spending money. I mean, my goodness, get Devers signed up to a long-term deal. They could definitely get something done with Rafael Devers if they really wanted to. Now, along with Boehm in this deal, I have a couple of prospects. We got Hao-Yu Lee. He's an intriguing prospect with the Phillies right now. He is trending upwards. And then we got Morales as well. If we go take a look here at where these guys are ranking, Hao-Yu Lee is number 10 and Francisco Morales is number 11. If we take a look at Lee, he's an intriguing one. He's very young at the moment, not even 20 years old, but this is a guy who has good bat control, a 55 bat control as of right now, and has a 55 future raw power. Scouts think that he could develop some more power down the road. Middle infielder at the moment, more second base, but scouts think he could, maybe he could play third base. The arm doesn't look like it quite yet, but they think, this is a guy who has good instincts already for someone his age, that he could end up playing a different position down the road. I think he would be a pretty nice player for the Red Sox, and a player that I think the Red Sox would like to add. They like guys who have these good instincts, who have good bat control and power down the road as well. And then someone like Morales, this is a guy who got a cup of coffee with the Phillies this year, did not really have good results, but has good stuff, tops out at 98, sits anywhere from 93 to 96, has a good slider. I can see the Red Sox liking someone with that kind of stuff. In the end, I think the Phillies, hey, look out for them. I definitely think, obviously with Dave Dombrowski as well, has the connection with Devers. Hey, look out for the Phillies. I definitely think they could be a team that could go for him. For my next proposal, I have Rafael Devers going to the LA Dodgers. Why not reunite Mookie Betts with Rafael Devers and JD Martinez, who just signed with the Dodgers? I absolutely think the Dodgers could get in on the Rafael Devers sweepstakes if it were to materialize. Why? Because they got the farm to get it done, and they got the moolah to sign this guy long term. Now, with the Dodgers, they could go a couple of different routes here. The first proposal I have, we have a package built around Gavin Lux. Now, this is interesting with Gavin Lux because right now he is projected to be their shortstop. You could move some guys around. You got a guy like Chris Taylor who could maybe move around. Maybe they can go out in the free agent market. maybe sign a guy to play shortstop. But they do have some versatility there where they could make it work if they were to give up someone like Lux. Now, Lux, he is a bit of a question mark. This is a guy who was a top prospect in the past. He hits righties well, but did not hit lefties very well last year. So maybe you could part with him and include a couple of prospects here. I got Landon Knack and Henriquez in this deal. And when it comes to Landon Knack, overall, he is the number 13 prospect for the Dodgers right now. This is a guy who has some pretty good stuff. If we go take a look here, you got a fastball that can top out near 100. He sits in the mid-90s, anywhere from 94 to 97. Has a pretty good curveball. Has an okay changeup. Maybe the Red Sox, they see that velocity and they would love to add that to their system. And with a guy like Henriquez, Edgardo Henriquez, this is a guy, another one with good velocity. Tops out at around 100 miles an hour. Sits anywhere from 94 to 98. Has a 60 future slider. I mean, this is a guy who's got pretty good stuff. Hasn't really been able to fully put it together in the Dodgers system. Maybe the Red Sox see him as a guy that could be an exciting prospect for them down the road. But for the Red Sox, again, getting back to Gavin Lux, this could be the guy that you could put at shortstop, or you could just put him in at second base. You'd have Gavin Lux and Trevor Story up the middle. Hey, Gavin Lux, like I said, former top prospect. Be pretty fun for the Red Sox to add a guy like that. Now, we have another package here. Let's say you don't have Gavin Lux in this one. You could center it around a guy like Andy Pages. As of right now, taking a look at where Pages is, he is their number 4 prospect. This is a guy, righty bat, a lot of power. This could be a guy who could be a menace at Fenway Park down the road. I would love to add a guy like Andy Pages to this system. And a couple other guys I have in this trade. We got Ryan Pepio. This would be a nice young pitcher to add for the Red Sox. And we got Brusdar Graterol. Chaim Bloom was all over Graterol until he saw the medicals with him and saw him as more of a reliever. Well, hey, he's trying to build up a strong bullpen in Boston here this year, signing guys like Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin. Hey, Graterol would be a great add for this bullpen. And for the Dodgers, you'd be getting Rafael Devers. What a bat this would be to add for the Dodgers. That lineup would be absolutely insane with Rafael Devers. Again, I think the Dodgers definitely could make a trade like this, and they would definitely try to sign this guy long-term, just like they did with Mookie Betts. And for my last proposal, how about the New York Mets? I think out of all these teams, the Mets make the most sense. Why? Because they're trying to win a championship. The Mets are doing everything they can to build a World Series championship team, and Rafael Devers would be huge for this lineup. I like their lineup as it is right now, but I feel like they could add one more bat. Could you imagine Lindor, Alonso, and Devers in the middle of this lineup? It would be deadly. This would be one of the best lineups in all of the National League. And most of all, the Mets have the payroll, they have the money to get a deal done with Rafael Devers long term. I could absolutely see the Mets getting in on this. And for the Mets, they have a lot of different ways they could go when it comes to a trade. If we go take a look here at the first trade proposal, and just a spoiler here, every single trade I have listed here are going to be centered around Brett Baty. I think he would be the guy that would go back to the Red Sox. He would be just the perfect fit at third base, the perfect replacement for Rafael Devers. Brett Baty, this is one of the top prospects in all of baseball, one of the Mets' top prospects. I would love to have a guy like Brett Baty. And the Red Sox have called about him before. They have looked in at what would it take to acquire a guy like him. And here you go. Rafael Devers would be perfect. So here is the first trade I have suggested. Let's start a little simple here. We got Brett Baty, and we also have Dominic Hamill and Blade Tidwell. Now, if we go take a look at where these guys rank, Blade Tidwell, as of right now, is number 9, and then Dominic Hamill is number 13. I think these two guys for the Red Sox in their system, I think this would be really nice. I've listed a couple of pictures here throughout all these proposals. I think the Red Sox really need to add some pitching prospects. Tidwell, this would be a nice piece. Sits in the mid-90s, tops out at 98, has himself a pretty good slider, can have a good changeup in the future. But Tidwell, I think would be a solid addition for this organization. And then Dominic Hamill, this is a guy, sits anywhere from 91 to 95, tops out at 97, has a decent slider, has a decent curveball. I think Hamill, he's more of an all-around kind of a guy, while Tidwell, I think, can have some better stuff. Now, let's move on to a couple of other proposals with the Mets. You could get, if you don't want to do, something like this, maybe you could take on a Carlos Carrasco. There have been reports that the Mets are open to dealing Carrasco. They're not, totally motivated to deal him, but if the right package came along, I think they would be open to it. And hey, if you got Rafael Devers, why not? The advantage of a Carrasco here is that you can just put him a part of this deal because he has a negative value just because of the money that he's getting paid. So for the Red Sox, if they were to take on his contract, you would be able to get a little bit more in return when it comes to prospect value. So again, I have Brett Baty, and then also in this deal, I have Mauricio. If we go take a look at where Mauricio ranks, he is the number 2 prospect right now for the Mets. He is trending upward. If we go take a look here, when it comes to Mauricio, he's definitely more projection at the moment, hasn't fully put together the numbers, but with a Mauricio, he's a shortstop. You got Lindor there long term, so he's definitely expendable. But with Mauricio, he's got raw power, he's got a decent speed, but he's good in the field. This is a guy I could see the Red Sox wanting to add. He could end up developing a good amount of power. I think he would be a good addition for this system. And getting back to this proposal here, I mean, this is really, when you include a Carrasco, this is all it would take. Just Baty, Carrasco, and a Mauricio. Let's get a little more creative here. Let's say you also include Carrasco. Maybe instead of putting a Mauricio, you could throw in a Matt Allen and then a Diaz as well. If we go here to the looking at the scouting reports for these guys, taking a look, when it comes to a Matt Allen, he is their top pitching prospect in their system. He sits 93 to 96, tops out at 97. This is a guy who has a really good curveball. The changeup isn't fully there yet, but it could be a 60 down the road. The command, he still needs to work on that. He did have Tommy John last year, so that is another thing to consider. But Matt Allen, this would be a huge addition for the Red Sox farm system. And then the other guy I have in this deal is Diaz. If we go take a look at Joel Diaz, this is a guy anywhere from 93 to 95 is where he sits with the fastball, tops out at 96, has a good curveball. So he has some decent stuff the Red Sox, I think, would like to add. So and again, you're taking on Carrasco as well. And let me talk about Carrasco here. This is a guy, the Red Sox, they've been reports have suggested that they would like to add another pitcher for the rotation. I think Carrasco would be a good guy to give you some innings. He would make his turn every 5th day. I think he'd be a solid guy for the rotation overall. Now, let's get a little more creative. Mets fans, I think you're going to like this suggestion. Why not James McCann? This guy has been a complete bust for the Mets. The Red Sox, you do have a Reese McGuire, you got Connor Wong, but maybe they could take on a James McCann. Why not? I mean, if you got rid of James McCann, he would really add some negative value here. So for the Red Sox, they would be able to add a bit more when it comes to prospects. So in this deal, I got Baty and Ramirez in this deal along with McCann. So that actually it ends up being almost dead even. If we go take a look, we've already talked about Baty a little bit. Good third baseman. He had a bit of experience in the majors, not a whole lot of experience this past year, 11 games, but there's a lot to like with Brett Baty. If we go take a look here, this is a guy where obviously the power bat, right-handed bat would be awesome for Fenway Park down the road. But Alex Ramirez is another guy who has some raw power, has some speed. You know, the Red Sox, they tend to like these guys who are athletic and have raw power. Alex Ramirez, I think, would be awesome for the Red Sox down the road. And then they would take on James McCann as well. But let's say you didn't want to give up, that beef when it comes to the prospects. Let's say you just switch out a Ramirez. Again, I got Baty in here. And then you take out Ramirez. And instead, you can put in a Ronnie Mauricio, throw in someone like a Matt Allen. Maybe you could get a deal done. The Mets, they got a lot of different ways where they could get this done. The Dodgers also have a lot of different ways they could get it done. But I think in the end, I think a team like the Mets would really benefit with a guy with Rafael Devers in their system. Again, they have the money to get a deal done for him long term. I mean, this would be an amazing lineup with Rafael Devers. So Let me know what you think of all the trade proposals down below in the comments. Which one did you like the most? Which team do you think he is most likely to go to if he were to get traded? Did I leave any teams off? Let me know down below in the comments. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.